Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got another news roundup for you all. So since all the new videos went up a couple of days ago, I've noticed a lot of things that have changed since the open beta that I want to talk about here right now. I know I kind of did a similar video on this a couple of days ago, but there were so many things to go over here that I couldn't fit them all into the one video. So in this one, we're going to cover the rest of them. Most of them are pretty good changes, quite positive, but there are some things that I would still like to see DICE act on, so I also want to talk about that as well. As always, if you guys enjoy the content on the channel, leaving a like, subscribing, all that stuff is massively appreciated. And thank you guys just so much for the support. Really appreciate you being here, and let's just jump into it. So first off, let's talk a little bit about vehicles. I've been watching some of Silk's most recent videos, and he's got one all about the attack helicopters, and they seem to be incredibly powerful, like crazy powerful. You get some new missiles for the primary loadout called heavy missiles, and you can only fire 4 of these at a time, but you can one-strafe tanks with them. They can one-shot infantry with like a single missile, and right now it seems like DICE are really doubling down on this glass cannon mentality for the vehicles. I've also noticed that with the jets, they still do crazy amounts of damage to other air vehicles as well, and it seems to me like, I don't know, I think vehicles aren't going to really get time to react, especially if you're a tanker and maybe you've got APS. If 4 missiles are incoming from an attack helicopter, you will have to like react in a split second in order to deflect those missiles and survive the volley. So little things like that, those are some things I would have liked to see them change from the beta, but it seems they've really got like a hardline approach to making vehicles be these glass cannons. Whether you like that or not, I suppose, really comes down to personal preference, but personally I think it just doesn't give players the time to react that they need in order to have a meaningful exchange of fire. I also noticed that there are a bunch of AI now in Battlefield 6, so during this test, this was like an invite-only content creator event, and it seems like they didn't have enough content creators to fill out the servers all of the time, and in there, they had AI, and you could quite easily tell who was AI and who wasn't because they were called like, I don't know, Sergeant Robinson and Major this and Lieutenant that, and, you know, very obvious names. But I did notice they didn't have the AI marker, the little suffix tag at the end of their name like we have in Battlefield 2042. I really think DICE should add that in. I know it's quite obvious who's AI and who isn't based on how they play and the naming system regardless, but we saw Delta Force go this exact same route where they tried to sort of hide a little bit, you know, who was an AI player and who wasn't, and people really didn't like that at all. So I do think DICE should add the little tag there just to make it obvious. I don't really see a single downside to that and only positives. So another thing that's actually really nice in the game is you can install the specific content that you want for Battlefield 6. So you can see here, you just tick or untick the parts of the game that you want installed or uninstalled, and the client will do that for you. So if you only want the multiplayer stuff and you don't want to play the campaign, or maybe you finish the campaign, you can simply uninstall that and be done with it. Additionally, there's a new graphical settings option called Overkill Graphics, and you can see down in the bottom right there, with everything, or most things at least on Overkill, you're using like 12 gigabytes of GPU memory, so that is quite a lot. You will need a quite high-end GPU to pull that off, but I'm looking forward to trying that one out. Now, as for the 2 new maps, it does look like Mirak Valley is going to be very vehicle heavy, and I'm not sure if that's just for the new game mode that they were playing, which is called Escalation, but somebody spotted this shot here of the deployment screen, and there are no less than 17 vehicles. So that is 4 tanks, 4 IFVs, 2 AA tanks, 3 helicopters, so I think you've got 2 attack helis and then 1 Black Hawk, and then you've got 4 jets as well. So very plentiful on the vehicle side. How does the escalation game mode work, you might ask? Well, it's sort of like Conquest, but with a bit of a twist. So you'll have a bunch of Conquest flags to begin with. I think it's something like 5 or 6 flags, and whoever holds the majority of the flags charges up a bar for their team, and once that bar fully charges up, you will score a point, and it's simply the first team to 3 points that will win the game. Now the catch is, every time a point is scored, I believe, the amount of flags available to cap on the map reduced by 1, so it's taking a bit of inspiration from the control game mode from Battlefield 2042, which I actually really liked. So are all these vehicles just on the map because it's the escalation game mode, or are these just standard on bigger maps like Mirak Valley and Operation Firestorm? I suppose we'll find out soon enough. Now, speaking of map remakes, the design director Shashank Uchil was actually talking with PC Games N during a recent interview about how difficult it is to remaster or remake maps from previous Battlefield games, because I think players generally want the exact same thing from the map, but we're playing that map in a new Battlefield game with different gadgets, maybe some different vehicles, and all the rest of it. And he says you wouldn't believe how difficult it is because of players' expectations. People know the map and people have certain expectations, but also there's rose-tinted glasses. Like, this is how it used to be. And that's where the challenge comes in. How do we make it as destructible as every map in the package? How do we make sure the map works with the weapons which are different from the weapons in Battlefield 3? It's much more complicated than people think. And I think he has a fair point there. We have seen some changes coming into Operation Firestorm, like a lot of the out-of-bounds areas have been reduced, and so the map size overall has become smaller, which I think in general players haven't liked very much. But this has been done for a reason. This has been done to stop people from camping up on the mountains and to really address some of the glaring issues that this map had in games like Battlefield 3 that people really didn't worry about or think about too much because it was just what we all got used to, I think, and we just knew that it wasn't going to change. But this time around, DICE has had the opportunity to come in and do that, and personally, I think these are good changes. I think when you guys get your hands on the map and play it for yourselves, you'll realize it does actually feel like the Operation Firestorm as old, especially the Battlefield 3 version. So yeah, I think they've done a pretty good job, at least with this one, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if we saw more map remakes from DICE going into the future. Okay, next we've got a long list of changes here from Battlefield Bulletin, and these have actually been compiled from the Cadwoman's video, so I will link both Cadwoman's video down below and of course Battlefield Bulletin. But first off here, the Engineer's Vehicle Supply Crate not only resupplies ammunition, but speeds up equipment cooldowns for nearby friendly vehicles, and it can also automatically repair friendly vehicles as well. So if you think about these attrition resupply crates that they have on the map, this is a new engineer gadget that you can plop down on the ground yourself, and yes, it is going to resupply your gadgets essentially, or reduce the cooldown of them. Now, you're not going to be able to use this for flares and stuff like that on helicopters or jets because, well, you're not really going to be landing them on the ground next to one of these crates. So in that case, I do think this should be balanced. You can no longer equip two launchers at the same time. You have to choose between anti-tank or anti-air launcher. So again, a big critique here of the open beta, and really good to see this finally confirmed that it is going to be this way in the full release of the game on October the 10th. The Recon Drone default vision is thermal. The EMP blast can be used to destroy enemy gadgets and or kill enemy Mortar players. So if a player is just like, you know, stood there on their Mortar device, you can kill them with this. You can't use it against vehicles, and the lock-on animation is not very intuitive, and it has a very low battery life. So they are adding that back again from the Casper drone there, that you do get this EMP blast ability, but you won't be able to go like willy-nilly EMP blasting vehicles. It's just going to be for gadgets mostly. Okay, next, every single gadget must be filled up at a supply crate. There is no longer automatic replenishing. However, your current progress will be saved if you have to move away from a supply crate. So you may or may not know that the way that replenishing works also with ammo in Battlefield 6 is that you have to stand in the resupply radius of the crate for a certain amount of time. It's not instant anymore where you just sort of hop in, hop out, and you've got another magazine. You have to wait, and the same thing goes here with the gadgets, but it will remember your progress. Also, the green circle around supply crates, that has been removed. Now we have a little icon at the bottom of the screen when we're within the effective area of resupplying instead. I guess they just did that to, you know, aid in immersion and realism and all that kind of stuff. Maybe it will get a little bit cluttered with lots and lots of green lines if you've got tons of support players overlapping their bags. If you're running out of ammo, support players and supply crates will start to pulse on your minimap, making it easier to find ammo. That actually is a really nice little addition there, nice touch, DICE. The Mortar has no follow camera like on Battlefield 1. Once deployed, you can aim by using the minimap, so you just fire it. It does take a long time to travel, so, you know, I'm not sure how good it's going to be. Like, I've heard that, thankfully, the Mortar is actually quite underpowered in this game, so you're more so going to be doing it to suppress the enemy, less so to get a bunch of free and easy kind of cheesy kills. If you spot an enemy player by pressing the corresponding button, it will now appear a bracket for a short amount of time, indicating that this player was now spotted for your team. Manual spotting has a cooldown to prevent spamming the spot button. And if you haven't noticed this in the footage, the way spotting now works is that if you've got a hollow diamond with just the outline, that person is only spotted for you personally. If the diamond is filled in, I believe that means it's then spotted for the entire team, so you can tell the difference between the two. Recon's laser designator can be used like binoculars or simply placed in a location and remotely accessed from behind cover. It has more zoom options, including the normal and the thermal version, so this is of course like, you know, the old gadget that we saw in Battlefield 4, for example. There is below radar for all air vehicles, so I think below radar was in the beta. It was a little bit wacky though, it didn't really work very well. I have noticed from a lot of like Silk's videos and other people who've been flying air vehicles in the new build, this creator build though, that the air radar, however, is still not working, so I really do sincerely hope that DICE get that ready for release. And now players can quickly say thank you to, you know, medics and squad mates after being revived by just toggling a button via a new on-screen prompt instead of opening the Comoro. So again, that's quite nice there. Really no excuse to thank people for reviving you. Now, another major mechanic that has also been added to the jets is thrust vectoring. So this will allow you to pull off a lot of really crazy maneuvers in the jets, and I believe you execute this maneuver by basically holding shift or holding like the afterburner, holding brake at the same time, and then sort of turning in a direction. I might be wrong on that because I haven't really tested it out myself yet, but that's how it works as far as I understand it. And what this will allow you to do is pull off any number of crazy maneuvers. So you can do the Cobra maneuver, where your jet goes vertical to the floor, and this basically acts as like a massive air brake, hoping that the jet that's on your tail will overtake you. I've also seen leaks of people doing this, but sort of strafing to the side. It looks really weird and crazy. It's like people are locking on targets as they're strafing their jets around the battlefield, almost as if it was a helicopter for a split second. So, you know, I think this is kind of interesting. Part of me does worry that it's going to be a little bit gimmicky, a little bit cheesy. You know, if we look at past games like Battlefield 4 and how in-depth the dogfighting was there, the maneuvers you could pull off, like the rolling scissors, or simple things like switching and cutting, or high and low yo-yos, you know, those maneuvers were things that you actually had to learn and execute correctly in order to pull off. These feel a little bit more like you just press a combination of two buttons at the same time and you just execute the maneuver, so anybody can do it. On the one hand, I understand why DICE are going in this direction. They want to make it a little bit more casual friendly for more players and open up the jet gameplay for more players. But on the other hand, again, I do feel like maybe once the cool factor's worn off, a lot of these maneuvers may end up feeling a little bit gimmicky. I don't know. I'm going to wait and see when the game comes out how it feels, and you know, if there's any ways to counter these maneuvers like the Cobra. But it's certainly an interesting addition nonetheless. Okay, so those are all the major changes that I could find for you guys. Again, I haven't played this build myself, so I can't really draw from personal experience, but that's everything that I've been able to find online. And hopefully, DICE are going to continue to iterate into the future. I do hope this isn't the final build, because there are still things that are broken in it. There are still things that I think need to be tweaked or changed before October the 10th. But it seems like DICE have really sort of locked in here. They're just putting out a lot of different builds, doing a lot of testing over on Battlefield Labs in order to get the best possible final build, the day one build that we can have on October the 10th. That will give us the absolute best experience. So definitely hats off to them for that. Maybe we're going to get an actual solid release on day one. Wouldn't that be something? As always, guys, if you enjoyed the video here or found it informative, leaving a like below is really appreciated. Don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with everything Battlefield 6. I'll be covering a lot going into the future, not just the news, but once the game finally releases and we can start playing it, there will be lots and lots of tutorials and guides, especially on the vehicles, things like that here on the channel. I'll be streaming a lot both here and on Twitch, so if you guys want to follow on Twitch, then feel free. But otherwise, have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next video.